Oh, hello, everybody. Blood Moon, King Poob, Inky Guy, Clara, Sharku. Hello, hello. And Sharky. You two have to fight to the death. Just kidding. Good morning, everybody. Oh, my goodness. Oh, it's time already. Oh, my God. Ah! Remember when I used to be like, listen, hey, everybody, remember when... Ah! That was better than anything I was gonna say. Hello, good morning, happy Thursday. I hope you're all having a lovely... we're almost at the end of the week, babies. I love you all to pieces. You're in Texas? What's in Texas besides HEB stores? I guess. Everybody in Texas is like, you gotta go to the HEB. And when I went to Texas, I didn't know if it was pronounced HEB or Heb. And, I got funny looks. I've been to Texas twice, and they were both just fine. They were both just alright. Austin's pretty cool. I'm going to Meow Wolf. What is that? Or Meow Wolf? Meow Wolf. Are they showing a show of a music? How do words work? What are we doing today? We're playing more Ace Attorney. We started the second game yesterday, and we're just gonna like solve a crime. We're gonna do the whole thing. In fact, let me open that right now. Let me get it going. This game only, for whatever reason, I can't have it pre-opened, or my computer gets fussy and stream takes a hit. For whatever, all right, we're gonna stop this music. We're gonna move this over. Clara says, all right, I'm gonna solve all the crime. So last we left off yesterday, Susato, who was our judicial assistant in the first game, her friend is like being committed of a murder most foul of the Swan Woman. But you can't be a woman lawyer, so she's dressed up as a man. It's a real Mulan over here. It's a real whole heckin' Mulan situation, you know what I mean? I'll be lurking. Hell yeah, Clara. Okay, the adventure of the blossoming attorney. All right, let's go, babies. Here we go. 13th August, 10:41 a.m. I'm so sorry, Susato. I should have told you about the toxin. So there's like a whole there's like a whole thing about like a woman got stabbed, but like now they're saying like, oh, it was maybe covered in poison. So she, who is like a medical research person, Pika, hello, was like, oh, I normally wouldn't take the blade out of a person who got stabbed, but I did because I thought it might be poison. She died anyways, spoiler. But now she's keeping stuff from us. Ray. Then we're like best friends, I guess. You have a strong sense of responsibility, I know. That's why you decided to shoulder the burden alone. No, that's not it at all. I'm just an idiot. I was just scared of my failure coming to light, that's all. Because it got stolen from the medical facility that she and the other guy, the dad, works at. So I hope to retrieve the substance from the Englishwoman before anyone found out. Posture check, hydrate. You got it. Head pats. Wait, let me take a little sippity doo-dah. All right. My mustache is really just here to stay, isn't it? Before the trial started, do you remember what you said, Susato? That you had no doubt in your mind about my innocence? That you'd stand by me to the last? That's still true, right? I remember! Ah! Hello. And yet I don't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susato. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susato. I deserve it. No. No, in fact, throw me to the floor. Give her a Susato takedown. Do it. No, that's too good for me as well. Drag me through the city streets. All right, all right. I'm no better, you know. Oh?
Even though in my heart I knew he'd pulled the knife blade from Miss Brett's back. There was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you. Susato! I'm sorry! After I stood there and promised you I'd stand by you and always be by your side, I betrayed your faith in me too. And as such, I failed you as a lawyer!
We're in the middle of the case, Susato. You need to calm down, Susato.
Oh, no.
Yes, shut up, Susato. You're being really dramatic. You're being super dramatic right now. I think the situation has taught both of you a valuable lesson. Placing your unbridled faith in another is no easy task.
Yes, Father. That fact has certainly struck home. Which is why I can see more clearly now. So, Ray. Yes? Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Yeah, no, for sure. You're being crazy, Susato. Oh, Susato. You know you'll always be a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now. Oh, Ray. I am still a woman, actually, though. I'm just dressed like a man. I was so scared, when it happened. I didn't know what was going on. The Englishwoman was sitting in the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. I know it was you who stole the poison.
Well now, whatever do you mean?
And then, a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet. Before collapsing on the floor in front of me, and with a knife in her back. Just super duper stabbed. It all happened right before my eyes. And you were the only people in the hut at the time. That's right. Just Miss Brett and myself. There was no one else. So I just don't understand how she could possibly have been stabbed like that.
Great mystery indeed. Good thing we're detectives. I mean, just lawyers.
I still can't believe it happened. That's why I couldn't bring myself to speak up. It'll be all right. However it happened and whatever really happened went by the sea that day. I promise you, I'm gonna prove everything you've said is...
Wow. Everybody, let's try that again. Let's take two. Take two, everybody.
I promise you that whatever I'm gonna prove...
What is this sentence? I promise you that I'm going to prove everything you've said you saw is true. That is a mouthful. That's not I'm not taking the L on that. Spoken like a true Mikitoba. Now, I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you? We don't have much time. We must make sure we have our facts in order.
Yes, I expect the poison is going to come under close scrutiny in the upcoming proceedings. Police should hopefully have identified it on the blade by now. The trouble is, it's a completely new laboratory-synthesized blend of alkaloids. The police won't have any way for testing of it. Oh, I see. Of course, why would it be easy?
Sharky. Yes, without this chemical region, it's impossible to detect the toxin.
Chemical region?
Sent a colleague of mine off with some earlier to deliver to police headquarters. I think perhaps you should have some as well, though, just in case. We're gonna use this later in court. No doubt about that. What's the matter, Susato? You're suddenly very quiet.
It's this newspaper article. Exclusive! Deadly poison stolen from UMA Medical Research Laboratory. Wondering how the information got out, given that it was a government secret.
It was a photographer. Probably.
It was all the Englishwoman's doing. Ah! When it was the professor and Sasaki-san. It was when the professor and Sasaki-san were being interviewed at the laboratory. That so-called English lady swarmed in, and without any compunction, said to Professor Mikitoba.
Oh, Professor, surely your guest would love to hear about your work on that substance there. Put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. Sasaki-san's curiosity had been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction.
So then, Sasaki-san knew about the poison?
Yes, and it's highly likely that the reporter who was writing up the story about us would have caught a glimpse of the toxin, too.
This many memo-san.
His name is Right-Hand Many Memo.
By the way, did that reporter join you all when you went to the beach? Oh, no, I don't remember the reporter being there.
Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I very much doubt anyone would have wanted him there.
Oh?
A known criminal had been given permission by the authorities to bathe by the seaside. Saki-san pointed out that inviting a reporter might be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office.
And he obviously didn't go back. He secretly followed the party to the beach and took his very candid photograph. And then presumably he posted it anonymously to the police. Ah.
Yes, that must be what happened. Brilliant to die. It's really just, it's pretty obvious, though. Counsel, we just heard that the new witness is now ready to testify. The trial is over, terrorism. Please. Okay, whatever. It's time to steel ourselves once again. Did you understand that, bailiff? Was that just me? He kind of sounded like he sort of stopped saying words there at the end. Defense attorney Ryutaru Naruhodo. Yes. That's his voice. That's his man voice.
Ray has put her faith in me now and told me everything. So I can't let her down. I have to prove that what she's telling in the court is true. I have to prove what really happened that day. Wow. Amazing.
$11:30 a.m.
I hereby call this court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Ray Membami. Prosecutor Ouchi, have you summoned the new witness?
Very good voice, thank you.
Before I address that question, Your Excellency, I have some very important news to share.
Oh?
What news? And why does he look so happy about it?
During the recess, with the collaboration of Professor Mikotoma's laboratory at Yume University, the police re-examined the knife that was used to end Ms. Giselle Brett's life.
Excellent. I admire your rapid handling of the matter.
Oh, too kind, Your Excellency, too kind. I was merely carrying out your instructions, of course.
I had the reading delivered to police headquarters by rickshaw, so it would be there in good time. But judging by the man's swagger, I fear we may need to brace ourselves for the inevitable.
And counsel, what were the results? Just the most like, voice.
This dagger, which was so crudely used to end the life of the victim, has no trace of poison anywhere along its blade.
What? Are you sure about that?
I would stake the reputation of the police on it.
Armed with the Regent, the test is extremely simple. They couldn't have made a mistake.
The murder weapon has been entered to the court record.
In short, the accused's feeble excuse earlier has been utterly destroyed.
Wah! How could this be?
Now, the prosecution is ready to call the new witness.
The newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photograph of the crucial moment. Good.
Can I do a goofy voice? Oh, yuck.
Very well, officer, bring in the witness.
No trace of poison on the knife. But if that's really the case, how could the toxin have entered the victim's body?
Oh, there he is.
Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court.
What? Should I? Okay. What if this is like a Kronk voice?
Right in minute memo.
I can't. He's got a very unique voice of the Show You News. I'm what people like to call a journo. What's a journo, Father? Do you know?
Simply a contraction of journalist.
What?
I'm where the.
I don't know about this. I'm where the. Let me think about this. What's a? He almost has the smash symbol. It's not the smash symbol, but almost. They just gotta move the crosshairs a little bit over. Maybe like a cocksure, like a I'm where the news breaks, putting pen and paper to catch those scoops where they're in print, so they're in print the next morning. They don't call me the hero of the Herald for nothing. The nice guy of news. Nice guy, my lady. Oh, so it was you who took this photograph, was it? Well, what have we here? I'm sorry? Oh, brace yourselves, people. Many Memo senses a scoop in the offing. Female student up to foul play defended by curiously handsome young lawyer in Supreme Court. The Readers will lap this up. We'll set it above the fold at a 72 point in a 5-leg format in the morning. Oh, God. Right then, let's start with your name. Well. Oh, it's Ryutaru Naruhodo. They kind of sound a little similar now that I'm thinking about it critically. Next, what makes you want to become a lawyer? Maybe if I speed him up. I wanted to reform our country's legal system, I suppose.
Ryutaru has suddenly become very ambitious, I see.
I just borrowed Kazuma-sama's dream for a while.
By the way, my name is Takasuchi Auchi. That's Takasuchi
Auchi?
the so-called dark horse of the Supreme Court. My objections strike fear into every defense lawyer's heart.
Yeah, I don't care about you.
No, the readers won't buy that.
What?
Witness,
Yes?
what this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for the taking of this picture. It was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Police Bureau only yesterday.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a journo if I didn't click quick when it presented when presented with a scoop like that now, would I? Sometimes stories call out to me, sometimes I have to chase them down, but either way, you gotta be fast. He does have to be fast. Fast legs to run with and a fast hand to write with. It's no good if you don't note it down, I always say. He is Sonic, he's a Sonic. He's just a journalist hedgehog. That's why I call my many-memoism. Many-memoism?
Ah, yes, I remember your face. We met that day when you were interviewing myself and Soseki-san.
Yes, right. That was me, Many-Memo again.
But you were supposed to be going back to the Shoyu news offices after our meeting.
But the scoop is, I didn't. I didn't do that. Because I had an Englishwoman's word to pique my journalistic interest. Ms. Brett's words? Criminal, left to do as she pleases just because she happens to be a British citizen? It's horse dung! This country's judiciary is rotten to the core. Supreme Court's rulings aren't worth the paper they're written on. The police are just imperial puns. I break my pencil about it.
Stay your tongue, young man. There are complex political issues at play.
Well, anyway, I quickly jotted down those words she said in my memo pad. Poor pencil. Are you ready? I'll read it out. Here it goes. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Serious criminals going on some junket. People need to know about this. That's why I decided to sneak after her. To get the woman's story so I could hammer her in the press.
Do you mean to say that you did indeed witness it firsthand?
Hagamune, hello.
The grim scene portrayed in this photograph?
Oh yes, I saw it with my very own journo eyes. From start to finish, through the viewfinder of my trusty camera. Can we tell if the camera's... He won't hold still. I want to see if we can tell that it's cracked or not.
Thank you, Memimeno-san.
I'm never going to say it right. For respect.
You will now give a formal testimony before the court. You will state exactly what it is that you witnessed of the events surrounding Ms. Brett's death.
I'm having a hard time reading words today. Witness testimony, baby. The beach show was made of shoddy old reed screens, so there were plenty of gaps I could see inside through. The English woman was sitting on a stool when her student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out her knife, throwing the English woman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back. What? My smoldering journo spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped out my camera, ready to click. Pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens, poked the lens through for the perfect shot. Objection! I found you guilty of being amazing. No, you! Objection! Hello, Drax. Read screens, you say? Right, you can see them clearly enough for that great shot I snapped. The hut walls are just screens made of coarsely woven reeds.
Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief. From the summer heat.
And it was a breeze for me to poke my camera through and see the whole thing hotting up. ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved. Did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut?
Oh yeah, I saw it. I saw the whole thing from start to finish.
And you say you took the photograph through a gap in one of the screens? Luckily for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. It's not cracked. Well, I mean, it would be neat if it was a little bit here. I pulled the reeds apart and thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. I don't know why he's doing all this. Abby! Used to be Sammy. Hello, welcome, welcome. 40 unsharpened pencils. Huh? You tell me you watch someone get stabbed, you didn't stop the person, it was immoral to protect yourself. He's lying. He's certainly lying about something. Would I get away with it, or would I be seen? It was a gamble of a lifetime. Well,
A tenacity of purpose that's considered admirable in a journalist, I suppose.
run a risk one day, run a scoop the next. That's metamemoism in a nutshell.
At last, it would appear we have a genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict.
No!
Wonderful news, Your Excellency, wonderful.
Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that this testimony begs one very large question.
What question?
Exclusive news, a startling photograph, all the makings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why then was the story never published?
Oh, that's right.
Seems clear to me there are circumstances at play here that are yet to be understood.
Ha! More pathetic excuses.
Very well then, counsel. Proceed with your cross-examination.
Yes, Your Excellency.
There's more to this reporter than meets the eye. He's keeping something about this case very close to his chest.
You're annoying me with your camera movement. Where's our beautiful vampire man? We're in Japan still. This is the beginning case. Beach hut made of shoddy old reeds. There were plenty of gaps I could see through.
Hold it!
What made you want to see what was happening inside the beach hut in the first place? College journal instinct. Can you think of a better reason? Well, I mean, I don't know his personality. Oh, I don't know. Perhaps because as well as being a proven criminal, the person inside was a young woman. He's a peeping journo, maybe. Ah, I see where you're going with this. Brace yourself, people. He's planning the journo as a voyeur. It's hardly slander, sir. You had a camera and you were taking pictures without the woman's knowledge. Nope, you got it all wrong, little student boy. Sorry? To my mind, all that was inside that hut was a scoop. Nothing more, nothing less. Scoop knows no gender, man or woman. It's all news. That's not even it's basic journalism. We'll call our beautiful vampire man and bring him here. Okay. Hold on. I have his telephone number. Hold on. Ring ring. Ring ring. Hi, is this vampire man? Yes, it is I, the vampire man. Hi, can you come to Japan real quick? It'll take like 50 days by steamboat. If you hop in a boat right now.
Yes, I'll be right there.
Okay, bye. Thanks. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Click. Okay, he'll be here in like 2 months, Strax. Is that gonna work? Is that fine?
If only the courtroom was as indiscriminate.
Right, so if that's all buttoned up, can we move on?
Tell the court then, witness, what sight befell your eye? Ah! When you looked inside the hut.
Hello. Oh gosh. Incoming. Explosions. The sight that vindicated my journo instinct, that's what. When I pulled back the reeds, I could see it was all clear as day. Whoa. Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with me.
Hold it!
Yeah, there's a handsome vampire man, but he's in the first. I think he's in this game too, but he was the bad boy lawyer in the other one. So you actually saw Mimbami-san entering the hut? Yep, she was raging like my journo spirit. The argument you mentioned, what was that about exactly? You stole it. I didn't steal it. That kind of thing.
Talking about the poison, I suppose.
That student girl walked right up to the English woman and really started laying into her. 2 months, fine. I guess I'll stick around another 2 months.
Sticking around forever, that's so sweet. Oh my goodness.
I mean, if she laid into her anymore, there would have been eggs.
What? 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 Eggs?
Man should have been an author. Descriptive talents are wasted on journalism. But the student's ranting fell on deaf ears, like a Japanese person listening to English for the first time.
He really ought to work on his similes first, though, to be honest.
Anyway, the point is that woman on the dock was mightily angry. And her temper finally got the better of her, it seems, dear me. Which was the climactic moment that I caught on film.
He's a weirdo, to be sure.
Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife. Wow, throw the English woman to the floor and she stabbed her in the back. Do you swear before this court that you actually saw the precise moment where the stabbing took place? Ha! The precise moment? I didn't just see that. I saw the whole hellish scene play out from start to finish. I have a simple plan of the beach hut. Perhaps you could use it to explain to the court exactly what you witnessed.
This is where we're gonna start finding contradictions. He didn't want to. He doesn't want to.
Right you are. It's all here in my memo pad. When I first peered into the hut, I'm sure that the English woman was on this stool at the back of the hut here.
Yes, the accused's own testimony confirmed that.
She just sat down at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly, is what I have noted down. It's my turn to testify now. Try not to interrupt. Ugh. Then, with the next moment I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut, arguing furiously. Woo! The English woman went for the student, but the girl dodged out of the way.
What do you even mean?
Edit flash plunged a knife into her adversary's back.
As the two passed each other. That doesn't really make a lot of sense, now does it?
What you describe is a grim crime indeed.
A random glove? Hell yeah.
Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what many memoism says.
Beach hut plan.
By the way, Many Memo-san, whilst you were watching that terrible scene unfold before your eyes through the gap in the screen, did it not occur to you to try to prevent the tragedy rather than capture it on film? Journos have to be observers. We can't get involved. That's our...
I don't know how to pronounce this. It's French, maybe. Raison d'etre? I don't know what that is.
So you didn't converse with Ms. Brett at all? Yeah, obviously not. An observer always remains on the outside looking in.
That's something to be proud of, is it?
Your Excellency, if I may. Yes, Professor. I think the witness's last expertly phrased statement should perhaps be added to the formal testimony.
Father, what are you...
I will grant the defense's request. Many Memo-san, you will supplement your formal testimony with the aforementioned statement. Well, nihilism is the foundation of many memoism, but I'll gladly prove that my words aren't meaningless. I never once set foot in the hut, nor spoke with the Englishwoman. I was only there as an observer.
Hold it!
Okay.
Really, you didn't set foot inside the hut at all? Are you quite sure about that? I think you may have the wrong impression of me. We're talking about a murder scene here. My nerves are stretched to the breaking point already. Oh, I see. You were scared? Maybe I did have the wrong impression of you, yes. It was all I could do to stifle a scream and hold my hand steady enough to snap the shot. Whoa!
You really should have summoned help before thinking of your camera. Do you see that camera guy's chin? He sees the crimson chin? Maybe.
Many memoism and humanism don't always agree. And most of the time in those instances, many memoism comes out on top. Blech. As a sculptor's story, sometimes I have to be cruel for my art. Yes, that's spot on.
Surely he's making all this up.
He claims to have spied the whole affair from start to finish. If true, his testimony is devastating.
But it just does seem like he's holding something back, doesn't it?
That's how you feel? I suggest that you trust your instincts and press them on everything you said, as you've no doubt seen many times before in your role as judicial assistant.
Yes, I have. Not, Father. You're not my real dad.
I've seen witnesses like this pressed often. I know exactly what to do.
Okay, so... he says he never stepped foot in the hut, and Father Dearest was like, hey, let's figure that out. Okay, so this is the layout, which means that he would have had to be like kind of over here, because the picture that we have, yeah, it's from that direction. So it must be in between. That's what he says anyway. But like, I almost wonder if he's like inside this actually. No, I think that's actually what, because this is such a, it could be here, but like that's such a specific angle. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. Found a calculator handbook. Take that! Ow. Found a calculator handbook and a piece of paper with the alphabet and sign language. Ooh. You're finding treasures. I love it. Okay. Nor spoke with the Englishwoman. Yeah, I mean... So, here's the thing, right? We can see in this picture that there is an opening in the reeds. So, like, if she got stabbed while sitting down, like, that would make a lot of sense. For it to just come from the outside, like if this guy did it. You know what I mean? Like, we can clearly see it right there. We can't see it over here. Which is interesting. Yeah, I just don't know if from this angle, like, he's really low. I don't know if that's the reed or if that's... But I guess it can't really be the dress. That doesn't make sense either. You can see that it's reeds. I don't know. The culprit. The victim. But, like... he's over here now. Yeah, no, okay, that doesn't really... But, I don't know if I pressed all these. Let me see. I know it might have skipped ahead, but it usually doesn't do that, but...
Hold it!
Let me just check. The two men inside didn't take notice. Ah, obviously not. They had where I'd be right now. Jail, that's where. Yeah, I think it skipped to the end. Which do you think would make you reflect on what you were doing? No, a journo's job is to collect little snippets of life as unobtrusively possible. Leave nothing but footprints. Take nothing but photos. Yes, that's spot on. Fletch! The picture would have had to be behind the dress. Well, that's what I'm thinking, but it's kind of hard to tell if that's actually the case or not, you know? Did he just make that up?
The point is, the witness risked life and limb to obtain this photograph. But this photograph reveals the whole truth. There is nothing more to be said.
That makes perfect sense, because the stab does add up to the position. Detective Drag's the sidekick. I'm the sidekick. Let's do a little savey save. Let's do a little savey save. Little savey, savey malavey. Let's present the photograph. I'm not 100%. Or, oh, oops. I always do that. Present.
Objection!
Nope. Damn it. No! What about those wide eyes of her? Don't talk about those. I'm sensitive. Dog lover, hello! 9 hours. That's a lot of hours. You started running after your dogs at 2 in the morning? That's a lot of running. Hello. Only there as an observer. Maybe this is a red herring, though.
Hold it!
I think I pressed this also. I just, like, it jumped to the end. Why did you choose to post the photograph, not to post the photograph?
I'm afraid I don't understand a word of what's coming out of your mouth. I'm asking why, as a journalist, you decided not to make a story out of the incident. Think of me as a sculptor who makes art out of the sordid private details of other people's lives.
Trickco, hello, how are you? I'm doing great. And this game is going fun, also.
But I never discuss my own personal life on principle. I mean, that's basic memoism. Not something to boast about.
No doubt your burning desire to see the truth exposed and justice done is what motivated you.
If you need me, I'll just be here on the floor.
That's it, that's brilliant. My burning desire to see something or other exposed.
There has to be a good reason why he didn't think to write an article about what he saw, though.
By your own admission, you were outside the hut. How then did you manage to take the photograph?
Okay. I couldn't run for 9 minutes, I'll tell you that. 9, let alone 9 hours. I think I've now gotten everything else. Matt, why are you going through all these bags? That's great to hear. Hell yeah. I hope you're doing well as well. Yeah, because this just came out today. Well, now hold on. Yeah, wait a minute. Does this have details? He said he's... Oh, this is his pen! Write in many memo! Oh!
Objection!
Ow! Heck. Okay, that's gotta be his pen, but this isn't right. Hecky decky doodle, baby. I don't know, chat.
Hold it!
Oops. Oh, shoot. Heck. No! Go, baby. I don't care about the this. Ah! I smell drama. I smell waffles. I smell waffles. Hold on. Let me just ooh, baby, ooh, baby. Oh, okay. I think there's something I have not done yet. A bag of flour or something. Okay. I think I was on the right track. We're gonna load though also. So I don't waste my health. My healthy boy, baby boy. We've lost no progress. But here we go. Okay, so it looks like, I guess I never examined this pen. Ah, yeah, look at that. What's that right there?
There's some sort of emblem here, look. But this isn't the UMA University one.
Must belong to some other organization, I suppose, a business of some kind. That would seem to imply that the pen doesn't in fact belong to Ray.
Bum, bum.
Ah!
Alright, okay. Bag of flour wouldn't taste good. You don't know! You don't know what I like!
The RM initials are very clearly engraved here.
The fact that Miss Brett was clinging to this pen in her dying moments is very clearly a message, too.
To identify her killer, you mean?
I don't think there can be any doubt that this is a key piece of evidence in this case.
We take off the pen's lid. Now let's unscrew the barrel, shall we? Whoa. We are examining. There's no ink in it. This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink.
Yes, fill it by drawing ink up from a bottle through the nib.
Something wrong, Father?
There just doesn't actually appear to be any ink in there, that's all.
Oh, yes, you're right. It's pretty much empty.
Well, it could be on the verge of running out, I suppose.
The details of the thing. Ooh, baby, baby, baby. Okay, so now...
Yeah, okay, alright. So now that we have all that information, let's, present it. Because it's gotta be your heckin' pen.
Objection!
There we go, okay.
Many memos sound. Until now, I've had a firm belief that newspapers are in the business of uncovering and publishing the truth.
You're spot on there. What was his voice?
Well, there we go. The press doesn't lie, which is why I'm proud to wear the emblem of the show you news on my arm. In a way, that's more many memoism. Sadly, though, it seems the journalists who write for those papers don't always share their same passion for the truth.
What are you suggesting with those recriminatory words, Counsel?
Many Memo-san, do you recognize this fountain pen?
Ah!
This pen was found at the scene of Ms. Brett's death. In fact, the murdered victim was gripping it in her hand as she died. What are you... If you look at the barrel of the pen, you'll notice that it has its owner's initials, are engraved there. RM.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Counsel. The initials of the accused, Ray Membami.
Is it a coincidence? I wonder. That your initials are also RM.
No!
Writing Many Memo, RM. That's horse dung! Can't you see? One of the central tenets of Many Memoism is being a pencil user. And yet, as the court will clearly see on your right hand, there's a very obvious blue ink stain.
It would appear that you must have rather carelessly left it somewhere recently. Your favorite fountain pen, that is.
Horsey horse dung! Many Memo said, is it not the case that before she died, you met with Giselle Brett in that beach hut?
Objection!
Why should we listen to this absurd nonsense? It's nothing but another excuse.
Exactly. Show you news will stand behind me all the way. I deny everything. There must be as many people with the initials RM as there are stars in the night sky. The defense has neither the time nor the inclination to count every star in the sky. Huh? And there's no need anyway, because this pen has one more tell. Yes, there is another clue. A clue that undeniably proves who its owner really is. Well,
In that case, Counsel, the defense will now show the court where this alleged clue lies.
Retard gives me Yuri Breyer energy. That might just be my sleep-deprived brain after catching up with my family. Cassie, hello. That's a brother, right? Yuri? Yeah.
Look, I am your father. No! Luke. Of course, Your Excellency.
Oh, wait. I'm getting there. Their voices are... I made them too similar.
The clue on this fountain pen that clearly reveals its owner's identity is...
There it is. There it is.
Got it!
The brother. As well as the initials, there is also an emblem on this fountain pen. An emblem that you will of course recognize. Many Memo-san. Ah!
Goodness me, it's the emblem of the show you news.
In other words, the owner of this pen is an employee of the show you news whose initials are RM. Suddenly, the stars in the night sky don't seem so numerous, do they? Well, Many Memo-san, how do you respond?
No! I wonder if he's guilty.
Order, order! Explain yourself, witness.
So, this is how the mighty Supreme Court works, is it? Using coercive tactics to have a well-meaning citizens reveal harmless secrets? I've used nothing but honest tactics. Alright then, fine. I won't try to hide it anymore. Yes, not long before that grim tragedy unfolded. I, a show you news reporter on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the English woman. An interview?
You never mentioned this before.
When exactly was this? As I said, it was before the evil little student girl showed up her face in the hut. Couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes, that's all, just a brief exchange. But it came to nothing, and as we many members say, the people don't pay their dues for unworthy news.
However insignificant you deem this to be, this court cannot overlook the meeting between yourself and the victim. We will testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired.
Uh-oh. Yeah, you got it, alright, but on one condition.
Condition?
In all good conscience, I wouldn't speak out alone about this. I couldn't speak out alone about this. You need to call back the earlier witness, Soseki Natsumi-san. Soseki-san? Oh yes, according to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own. And brace yourselves. It's not a harmless one, it's big. What? What is going on here? Metamemoism states that one man's secret is every other man's front page story.
Very well, I will grant the witness's request in this instance. Officer, summon the earlier witness back to the stand.
Sasaki-san, hiding something?
He is sort of crazy. He's like a crazy man. But he's a real man also. This guy really existed. Saseki-san. I don't know about this guy. Probably not. Probably not right in Many Memo. Definitely a real person.
I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined, so I left the hut without making a fuss. Then, watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed from the other witnesses coming running. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help. That's when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question. But he didn't say anything about that in his testimony. That's why many members.
All right.
You mean to say that the victim regained consciousness?
Well, this kangaroo court.
And when she did, you decided to ask her a question.
That's, true, yes.
He did, and that's not all. The woman gave him a very definite answer. An answer, and it incriminates the accused.
Uh-oh.
This is preposterous. Why am I only hearing about this now? Why didn't you mention this before, you yokel hack?
It wasn't even a conversation. Yes, I did pose the withering English rose a question. I won't deny it. Nicole Hackett with the raid. Oh. Welcome, Raiders. How was your stream? I need to figure out what's wrong. My raid message is supposed to automatically tell me what you were playing, but it didn't do that. So I don't know. Wait, are all my things? No, some things should work. Hold on. If I type that. Oh, maybe it's that CloudBot's broken. Hold on. Let me go to Streamlabs. Let me reset CloudBot, baby. Ooh. Yeah, I think it's unauthorized. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, baby. Okay, go to the dashboard. Does it work now? Resident Evil 2 is being spooped. Okay, that still didn't work. So let me just, oh, it's deactivated. Now it's activated. Okay. One last thing. There we go. Okay. So I guess further raids will show. It's supposed to pull what you were playing. Hell yeah. Well, hell yeah. Welcome. I'm glad that, I hope it was a fun spoop and not an actually terrible spoop. Because those games can run the gamut a little bit. I won't deny it, but she could no longer speak. She was barely conscious even.
Counsel for the defense, I expect a thorough cross-examination to be conducted. This court must know and will know the truth.
Absolutely, Your Excellency.
The reporter is claiming that Miss Brett implicated Ray somehow. What on earth could have happened in that hut?
I don't know. One said she didn't answer, and the other said that she did. Alright. Get out of here.
Hold it! Hold it!
You asked her for an interview, you say?
Well, of course I did. I wanted to ask her more about the incident she was involved in at the end of last year.
About the case in which Dr. John H. Wilson lost his life?
That's not the way I phrased it. Metamemoism calls for straight talking. Why did you murder Dr. Wilson? Is how I put it to her.
He is. But that sort of talking is as straight as a ruler.
Ask every question as if you're asking for a menu in a restaurant, I say. It's the best way. Veteran at the paper taught me that.
And how did Ms. Brett answer?
With one simple phrase. Mystery is a woman's charm. Woo! That told me. So I waltzed right out of there.
Really? Something about that doesn't quite seem to fit together.
Leave every room as if you're waltzing in a dance hall, I say. It's the best way. A veteran at the paper taught me that. Then, watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witnesses come running.
Hold it!
Why did you stick around? That was very persistent of you, considering that Ms. Brett had just turned you away.
Persistence wins the prize! Any man will tell you that. Let them think you've left, and just when they lower their guard, that's when you swoop in for the scoop.
I feel like they named this guy this just to upset streamers doing what I'm doing right now. Because that is just so difficult to say. It's a tongue twister on purpose.
And the fruits of your labor are all too apparent in this telling photograph. Though I'm sure the young yokel student would rather not be reminded of this damning evidence.
Actually, it's thanks to that photograph that we managed to identify this witness.
Now that you found me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I got nothing to hide.
I'm sure.
Please, do go ahead, witness. The court is eager to hear what you have to say. Try to stop me. There's a story here to tell, and I'm going to tell it. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help. Hold it!
And Saseki-san remained behind in the hut?
Yeah, that's right, yep. Our author friend here was a blabbering wreck, shaking all over from his head to his toes, mustache twirling and eyes bulging.
What do you expect? You don't know the terrifying troubles that taunted me whilst traveling abroad. Back behind baleful bars. They're coming for me, surely. That's all I could think. I felt as though I were gasping for air, drowning in a sea of cold sweat.
Poor Saseki-san, his experiences in London have scarred him deeply.
As the world deemed to close in around me, I quietly recited a prayer to Amida Buddha. Eternal emptiness, empty eternity! The end is coming for me, surely. No sutras are to resound in my courtroom, please.
And now we come to the crucial part. That's when it happened. That's when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question.
What was the question? Oh my god.
What question? What exactly did he say? Well now, you should hear that from the horse's mouth, I think. Don't you, Mr. Writer Man?
Ah!
Out with it, you yokel hack! What did you say to her? What did you say to the dying Englishwoman?
Well, in truth, I've been catching crabs at the water's edge and building castles in the sand, you see. Well, the seaside is a place to be at leisure, I suppose, even for a grown man. But then all of a sudden, from that little beach hut, a young girl's panic-stricken cries for help pierced the air.
Ray!
I ran up to the beach to see what was happening, to find the defendant leaning over the collapsed victim. As soon as Inspector Hosonaga saw Miss Brett on the ground, he sprinted off to get help. And then, just a moment later, I heard a faint moan, a moan from the dead Englishwoman. I nearly jumped out of my skin!
But what did you ask her, Saseki-san?
I asked her, who did this to you? Don't protract this any longer. How did the woman respond? She didn't. She said nothing in response. When in the stand, you will answer the questions asked of you unambiguously. Now, without evasion or reticence, I demand that you amend your testimony. I will! I asked her who did this to you, but she never replied.
Alright.
So you tried to find out who the culprit was. He who asks a question is a fool for a minute. He who does not remains a fool forever. And having been labeled a criminal twice during my time in Great Britain, I was quick to make up my mind. Better to be a fool for a minute than remain a fool in prison forever!
However, you've indicated that the victim failed to respond, is that correct?
I know why. I know why the Englishwoman said nothing. She was ignoring me because of my stupid mustache, because I'm Japanese.
Oh dear, Sasaki-san has really developed a dislike for the English, it seems.
Having read the report in his time in Great Britain, I can't say I'm surprised at his xenophobia.
But the Englishwoman didn't ignore you at all. Did she, Mr. Riderman?
Ow, Floop, hello.
Well, yes, all right. She did respond in a matter of speaking, I suppose. She just lifted a trembling finger and pointed in the direction of the defendant. What?
How are you, Floop?
This brat pointed a finger at the defendant? Sasaki-san, is that really true?
It's not easy to stand here and say this, but when we first entered the beach hut, the Englishwoman was sprawled on the floor before us, with the student girl standing on the far side of her. And when I asked, who did this to you?
She's pointing, yeah, I mean, she's pointing to outside where the reporter, like, stabbed her or whatever.
The Englishwoman summoned her last ounce of strength to point a trembling finger at the back of the hut.
Excuse me.
Which was, it cannot be denied, in the direction of the student girl who stands accused today.
To start my day, hell yeah! The glass of orange juice, is that cannibalism? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
No!
Saki-san, why on earth did you neglect to mention this in your original testimony? But fiddlesticks, I say! It's not a British court of law. You will respond in Japanese. Yes, of course, the Englishwoman did point her finger towards the back of the hut, but I was trembling, and she was trembling, and everything was a blur. And thinking about it, I feel as though perhaps she was pointing in a slightly different direction. Actually, no, not slightly, in a very different direction to where the student girl was standing. To somewhere at the back of the hut where no one was standing at all.
You mean that in your memory of events and the direction in which the victim was pointing are both unclear?
Yes, that's it, unclear. I'm very, very unclear.
Your Excellency, surely this proves the matter beyond all reasonable doubt. Yes, the woman may barely have been conscious, and yes, her finger wavered slightly. But there can be no doubt that this was an attempt by the victim to confirm the identity of her assailant. Why? Because as the court can see, there was no one other than the accused in the direction the victim was pointing. It is now abundantly clear that no one besides the accused could possibly have committed this crime.
I am inclined to agree. And in the absence of any credible argument to the contrary, I believe we can now conclude this trial.
No! No! Ouch!
It'll be cannibalism bait myself.
I'm the only floop orange. Better than every orange. Hell yeah. Love to hear it. The headline's writing itself. Dashing lawyers hopes dashed. 92 point across the whole page. We'll do an extra edition.
This is a serious blow, Susato. Unless we're able to identify the true culprit and substantiate her claim with evidence. The judge will give his ruling and the trial will be over.
But that's impossible, Father. We don't even know how the crime was committed yet.
Possible though the task may seem, we have no choice. We must think back over everything we've learned thus far. Somewhere in all those details, I'm confident we'll find the clue we need.
Ray gave us her account of how events unfolded in the defendant's antechamber before the trial resumed. She told us what happened at the precise moment Miss Bride was killed. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. And then, a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet and was dead as hell. She was super duper dead, with a knife in her back. How could Miss Brett have been stabbed in the back in a beach hut that was empty but for herself and Ray? Somewhere amid all the information we've gathered so far, there must be an answer to that question.
I take it then that the defense has nothing further to add.
So, the gallant yokel student's luck finally runs out. I can't say I'm surprised.
In that case, I am ready to deliver my final verdict on this matter.
This is a crucial turning point now. If I can't establish what really happened, it's over. Where was the real culprit hiding? And how did he stab the victim?
I know how. I do know how.
Objection!
Yeah!
Oh.
Your Excellency, I respectfully ask that you postpone your adjudication for the time being.
Oh, and to what end, counsel?
The defense would like to present the court with an alternative theory. An alternative theory that can explain who the victim was actually trying to implicate with her dying gesture.
Objection!
An alternative theory, ha! None exists!
Objection!
There was someone else present at the scene who could have committed the crime.
What?
And the victim, Miss Brett, tried to reveal who it was to those around her at the time by mustering all of her remaining strength and pointing a trembling finger in the killer's direction.
This is fiction, fantasy!
Very well, as you seem so sure of yourself, counsel, I am prepared to hear your alternative theory. So, young Ryutaru Naruhodo,
Yes, Your Excellency, that's my name. That's definitely my name.
I will present your latest theory to the court by means of this plan. At the moment the victim was stabbed, where exactly are you proposing the culprit was concealed?
Here.
Take that!
Naruhodo-san would never give up, and I'm Naruhodo, and I'm a Naruhodo now.
The true culprit who fatally stabbed Miss Brett was concealed in this location here.
Are you mad, counsel? You're suggesting the culprit was outside the hut.
What?
Yeah, obviously.
Order! But student lawyer Naruhodo-san Esquire, that makes no sense at all.
Yeah, you just pointed out the exact spot where I was trying to get my scoop snap. But I didn't see any suspicious individuals loitering about. I can swear to that.
Obviously, if the culprit had been outside the hut, there is no way that he or she could have stabbed the victim who was inside the hut.
Actually, Prosecutor Ouchie, there is a way.
Ah,
And, in point of fact, the defense can prove evidence strongly suggesting this is precisely the way Ms. Brett was killed.
you're bluffing, you're bluffing, you yokel.
The defense's assertion is clearly too fantastical for the court to comprehend. You will need to give us more guidance, counsel. What piece of evidence corroborates your theory that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut?
Well, okay. I mean, like, I think that it's this photograph, but let's try it.
Take that!
Ah, I got it. The original photographic print of the crime scene.
Yes, it's clearly visible in this print. Me, Ryutaru, I'm saying this. The trace of the fatal thrust that was delivered from outside the beach hut.
Objection!
Do you take us for fools? There's no hint of any such thing.
I'm not sure that everyone present would agree.
Yeah, he's sweating.
Someone at least appears to have noticed what it is that I'm referring to.
Counsel, once again, I must call on you to be explicit for the court.
Where this photograph is, yeah, it's this. It's right here.
Take that!
I pointed it out earlier. Look closely just here. In the screen at the back of the hut, you can see the effects of a blade having been forced through the reeds.
No, I can't. I can't see any such thing.
It's true that the hut in question has 4 walls as you'd expect, however, by parting the reeds, a knife blade could easily penetrate them.
This is extraordinary.
Yes, it is. The true culprit actually stabbed the victim from outside the beach hut.
Ah,
And of everyone present at the scene, there was only one person who could have done that. Only one person who was directly outside the hut when Miss Brett was killed.
Right, Many Mammal-san, it could only have been you! No!
Anime is God, hello.
The preposterous idea leaves me almost speechless. Just look at that photograph again. The victim lies almost exactly in the center of the beach hut, does she not? Are we to assume, as part of this farcical scenario, that the assailant was a knife thrower?
Objection!
No, of course not.
We're not?
If you recall the testimony of the defendant about the events just before the victim's death.
Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just stood on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me, as if she knew if she knew she was untouchable.
A stool?
Have another look at the photograph. The slit in the read screen would align perfectly with the back of a person who was sitting on that stool.
My word! So, in fact, the victim was
Killed while sitting on that stool by a stab wound to her back delivered through the read screen.
Ah!
Having been attacked, Ms. Brett rose to her feet instinctively. But then, unable to speak, she collapsed to the floor in the middle of the hut. Before the defendant, many Membami-san's appalled eyes. And that, Your Excellency, is the truth of what happened on the beach that day. By your silence, Many Memo-san. I take it that you don't deny the charge?
This is absurd! That will do. It would appear that we have a tacit admission of guilt from the witness. Accordingly, this court has successfully established the truth of this matter, which means that the defendant, Membami-san, is innocent of the crime.
Wow, that was fast. What are they gonna throw at us?
Oh, thank goodness.
We're not done. Come on, that wasn't it.
I finally made him cave.
I must say, I've never been more proud.
No, this can't be. An Ouchie clan can't. What of my growth? The growth of hope. It wasn't all an apparition. I can't accept this. I won't.
I see no reason for the continuance of this trial. I will therefore move to conclude proceedings by delivering my final verdict and...
There it is. We still have the poison to consider.
Well, this is all very convenient.
This is how the highest court in the Armani...
This is how the highest court in our mighty empire delivers justice, is it? Suppressing well-meaning citizens' freedom to speak and branding them as criminals? But we've established that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut through the read screen walls.
And no one but you was in that place at that time to have his hand on the hilt of a blade. It's all a perfectly logical deduction.
So, your argument hinges on the location whoever stabbed the Englishwoman, does it?
Oh,
Well, it seems a little irrelevant now.
irrelevant.
Where she was stabbed, how she was stabbed. It doesn't matter. I mean, whether she was stabbed at all makes no difference if you think about it. After all, this trial's already shown the whole thing hinges on something else.
What?
What are you talking about? Brace yourself, little man. I'm talking about the fact that everything's changed. Because of the dirt you dug up. What?
Enough obscurity. Explain yourself, witness.
What's to explain? I'm talking about the poison, of course.
Poison?
Let's ask the professor for a comment on the situation, shall we? I understand that the deadly poison you were developing was stolen from your laboratory, correct? It has been shown that this poison was administered to the victim, Ms. Brett, is that right?
That is correct. The unusual constriction of the victim's pupils are a sure sign that this particular poison was used.
I see. So, presumably that means...
Oh, maybe? Okay. Alright, here's my theory. Cat's Corner, hello, the poison for Cusco. I think that he stabbed her with the pen earlier when they met. And then, like, he stabbed her with a knife later to make it look like she got stabbed with a knife. Instead of just letting her die from the poison. Maybe. I think that's it. I think we're gonna have to test the pen for poison. There's gonna be poison on the pen for Kuzco. I think that's gonna be it. Did the victim already had poison in her body before she was stabbed? Ah! Given that her pupils were clearly constricted, it seems highly likely, yes. And if she had been dead already, the poison could not have circulated in her blood. How refreshing to hear the argument of a metropolitan mind. You were just calling him a yokel a second ago. Precisely, it matters not a jot who stabbed whom in whose back with whose blade. Because, quite simply, the Englishwoman's life was taken not by the knife, but by the poison.
Objection!
But that can be explained by the poison being on the blade, as I already... Oh, yeah.
Forgotten already, have we, yokel? During all these proceedings, the laboratory of the professor at your side assisted in proving that the blade of the weapon used to attack the victim had no trace of poison on it whatsoever.
So let me get this down. The facts, as skillfully established by the defense in this trial, turn out to be a headline-making red herring. Is that about right? Well,
I think I know where this is going, but I'll keep quiet. Bonk, bonk, bonk.
Order, order, order! But where does this leave us? How, in that case, did the poison enter the victim's body?
There is an undeniably obvious answer to that. The lady most likely imbibed it.
You mean she drank it?
Have another look at the photograph here. As you can see, a bottle of carbonated water and a glass have been knocked onto the sandy floor of the beach hut. Poison could have been slipped into either.
So somebody made Miss Brett drink it.
No, that's wrong.
No, that's wrong. Ha, well, what do you know? Look at those dashing eyes. This will make for a great front-page side. Hey, why the bewitched stare? After all, I'm the last person you should be looking at. It would make no sense at all that I poisoned the woman, would it? I mean, that's been established already.
Hold it!
Well, now hold on.
Established? What are you talking about? Huh? Don't tell me you've forgotten. That's a little hard to believe, given that the person who established it was you. Me?
What on earth does he mean?
Well, let me capture those wide eyes. This is prime press fodder, this is.
He still stabbed a woman in the back. Like, I don't know how they're gonna get away from talking about that.
I hereby call on this witness to give further testimony.
That's great, that is. Let me get a shot of that magnificent beard, Your Excellency.
Claim it to be impossible that you were the one responsible for administering the poison to the victim. You will explain to the court in your testimony the basis upon which you make such a claim.
Oh no, he had poison in the pen. He did have poison in the pen, but it's empty, and he must have put it in her drink instead of stabbing her. That makes a lot more sense than her just like not like ignoring a pen stabbing. I got distracted from my cleaning and made a very pretty sunset. Ooh, hell yeah.
I'm Juno and a man. I've never tried to run or hide from anything in my life. And I'm not about to start now, because that's metamemoism.
For a brief moment, I thought I'd illuminated the truth, but it slipped right back into obscurity again. Just where is this trial going to take us?
No, he must have done that. It has to be it. That's the only but then I don't know why he left the pen. That seems a bit foolish.
Oh yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman, and it's that very fact that proves I'm innocent.
What a game. What a game, y'all.
Because why would I bother to stab the woman if I'd already poisoned her? When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. The courts weren't going to punish Brett for what she'd done. Someone else would just have to see justice done. So, you admit it then? That everything happened as I described? That you are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the read screen? You can play this miserable country of ours. A country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free. What kind of future can a country like that have? That's why I did it. I did what our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. Slap bang in the middle of that charming lady's back. I plunged that blade of sweet justice right in there. But I guess I'm not a murderer. Well, as someone who spends his life seeing the truth as told, I feel really, really awful about giving false information to my testimony before. But it turns out there was somebody else who added in for the victim and got to her before me. That's right, you guessed it. That pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart. You're implicating Ray again. She's the one who gave the poison to the Englishwoman and ended her pitiful existence. Suddenly, snap! This journo here is off the hook. I don't know about that.
The argument is sound, certainly. But if the witness had administered the poison himself, he need only have waited for it to take effect. Subsequently, stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical.
And therefore, this reporter had nothing to do with the poisoning. Yes, it's all quite logical.
That's right, it is. Logical and true. I'm glad you've seen the light. Justice at last!
This is unbelievable. And after I'd made so much progress in proving his guilt, is he going to get away with it now?
Does second-degree murder not exist? Attempted murder? Is that not already a crime? Mason, hello! Wow, why? Yeah, it's attempted murder.
Slap. Think of Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san. They never stopped looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel!
Very well then, counsel. Proceed with what I assume to be your final cross-examination in this trial.
Yes, Your Excellency! I'll do it! Whoa!
I'm almost at tea, y'all. I'm sad about it. You made a stream! Hell yeah!
I stabbed the Englishwoman, that's why I'm innocent.
It's more like, wow!
So, you do admit that you had murderous intentions toward Ms. Brett then? Ha! The woman's very existence offended my sense of justice. Your sense of...
He's claiming some sort of righteous indignation.
She was pure evil, a cold-blooded killer who committed murder right there on the Empire's soil. But did our good-for-nothing government do anything? Not a chance. So I had to step in. Fly the flag of justice, put things right for the people. Yes, it was my civic duty, that's what drove me to do it. So, in summary, murderous intentions then? Whatever you want to call it, the point is, that Englishwoman was a blight. So I had to do what was right for society.
Yet a real wrong was done by the student girl in the dock, a crime for which she must pay.
Obviously, because the poisoning has nothing to do with me at all.
Whoa! Monster TV, hello! Objection! Objection! Hello, welcome. It's good to see you. What'd she do? They're claiming that she poisoned him, but that can't be right. Damn, Annie's a vigilante? Wow, Rose, hello. Okay, here we go. Why would I have stabbed her? That's a good question.
So you still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim? Obviously, that'd be like putting a belt on your trousers when you were
already wearing braces like these. What? Suspenders? Braces?
The accused administered the poison, following which this victim stabbed the victim.
Glad I get to stream. Hell yeah, me too, me too. I had the word pilk to this guy. Oh my god. Oh my god.
An unforgivable act, certainly, but not one of murder. That crime rests on the accused's shoulders. That is how the law works, you see, yokel. Who knows, you may even learn something here today.
2 consecutive attempts on her life in the space of minutes. Quite a day for the victim.
Do something that evil and you got it coming. Well, that's how the law works, the law of reckoning. That's not the kind of law this court upholds.
We'll reiterate why you were compelled to stab the victim then, witness.
Well, I heard the student girl and that Papa's English murderer arguing. It got my goat.
What this English lady do? She did a murder 9 months ago and got away with it? She was gonna be shipped to China instead because of geopolitical reasons.
Excuse me. What exactly were they arguing about? About what happened in that restaurant 9 months ago, that's what. The student girl was laying into the Englishwoman for killing her beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, Dr. John H. Wilson, a professor of medicine, invited here from England by Professor Mikitoba, no less.
Right, but the Englishwoman just jeered.
Her case was to be heard by the British Consular Court in Shanghai, however. there is little doubt that she would have simply have been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman.
It was eating me alive to that student. It was eating that student girl up inside. You can see it. I really fell for it. Hold it. Who's holding it?
Ah! There she is. Hello.
I can't stand here and listen to this tripe.
Ray!
Young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out whenever you feel like it.
No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony here. Just keep quiet and listen.
But this awful man is making all of this up. Susato, please, you have to make them listen.
Susato, don't call me that.
Return to the dock at once, Minbami-san. We are in the middle of a cross-examination.
Hold it!
Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness.
Exactly. He's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, dirty, great peeping Tom.
Whoa, take it easy there. Please, I really think the court should hear what the defendant has to say.
Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accused remarks.
I will grant the request of the defense.
But, Your Excellency!
How is his pencil not dull? He brought a pencil sharpener to court.
This is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So, whilst recognizing that this contravenes regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak.
Oh. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you. There's nothing to do with Dr. Wilson. We were discussing the stolen poison.
Hold it!
Ow, hydrate, Janie cake, hello. This is the last sip of my tea. I have backup water, but I just do like tea very much.
The stolen poison that killed the victim, you mean?
Pilk Sunset's now in the Discord, hell yeah. The Discord, just by the way, everybody. It's a beautiful place full of lovely people. I'd love to see you there.
I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson.
That's true. Additionally, Ms. Brett certainly had knowledge of the new poison. But surely there would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government.
Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult.
That's true. I pestered Professor Mikitoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited his laboratory. But as I left, I was searched from top to tail.
Ms. Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of the toxin we'd be developing, you see. Since Oseki-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, I gave nothing away other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance.
I'm very ashamed of myself. It's just that I've had a singularly terrible experience with a deadly poison. I wanted to look at my old enemy in the eye. Surely you can understand that.
To find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Ms. Brett about the poison. I told her that if there were to be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. The military would be dragged into it, the whole government even. It would be a complete disaster.
And how did Ms. Brett respond to your concerns?
She just curled those beautiful lips of hers and said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually.
She tooted, she went.
Yes, Memo-san, one small question if you don't mind. I do mind. Can't you see I'm busy? Clearly, you were outside the beach hut listening in whilst the defendant and Ms. Brett were conversing. Presumably then, it was you who wrote this article about what you'd heard. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. The story was published in this morning's edition of Shoyu News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else.
Sorry, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, look at this. The entire article. It's almost what I said to Miss Brett, word for word.
Ah! Well, Memo-san? As a journo, this is a free country. I don't have to reveal my sources. That's a founding principle of Memoism.
Mother's clearly right about this. That reporter did write that article, and he based it on what he overheard from outside the hut.
The details of the poison article. Oh, okay, that's a clue we can use now then, I guess.
So that's what it was all about. You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came in with that stinking story about me arguing with her.
Shut up! My stories don't stink. Look, whatever you say, little girl, doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I want it to go on record.
Very well. You may amend your formal testimony.
He also breaks his pencil every time he's mad. Yeah, he just has multiple pencils. This is gonna be great.
The point is, if he poisoned someone, there'd be no reason to go and stab the person as well.
Hold it!
Maybe there is.
Perhaps you doubted the efficacy of the poison and sought to make sure your victim would die. That's horse dung!
What?
That would be like pouring pepper on your Chinese ramen before you even tasted it, completely reckless. Although, it might surprise you to learn that I'm a bit of an impetuous pepper pourer as it happens.
Once the victim had taken the poison, she would have only been minutes away from death.
It's a rubber pencil.
Yet this man then proceeded to stab her in the back as well. There has to have been a good reason for that.
If it was the reporter who gave the poison to Ms. Brett, then clearly, he must have done it prior to Ray entering the hut.
Yes, that's undeniable.
But between him leaving the hut and the victim being stabbed, there was one very crucial change in the situation.
Sorry?
What change?
The reporter overheard the conversation between Ray and the Englishwoman.
Ah,
Yes, that's it. That's when Many Memo-san first found out the exact nature of the poison he'd used. That could be the key here.
If the victim had unwittingly taken the poison already, the reporter would have had no reason to stab her. On the face of it, that logic sounds entirely reasonable.
but there's no question this man was responsible for Miss Brett's murder.
We could think of a plausible explanation as to why he might have stabbed her even after the poisoning. I feel sure that everything would drop into place. That's what we should be looking for.
Yes, I agree, and in order to do that, we must glean more information.
Okay, so let's go over here. Let's look at what this now. Newspaper article containing an article about a discussion between my father and Soseki-san. An article about... Oh no, wait. An article about poison that was stolen from a laboratory. The reporter, Many Memo-san, based it on information he gleaned by eavesdropping. Let's, Following a lecture, deadly poison being secretly developed. Even the smallest amount entering the body, either via the mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade. With fatal in minutes, current methods cannot detect. The university would have to be consulted. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, starting with impaired breathing and ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggestive of this toxin, apparently an entirely new synthesis. So like she's in there and he was gonna, okay, here's the theory, right? Poison-laced blade, you say. So this blade doesn't have any poison on it. They traced it back. I think that the pen has it. So so I think that we present this.
Objection!
There we go. Cool. Because what he's worried about is that the girl, the medical girl was in there, would have seen that she was like suffering from the results of poison, and then this guy would have been toast because like people probably saw him go in and out, right? Potentially. But then he was like, beans, I gotta kill her a different way so that they don't think it's poison, but then that proved fruitless because she knew about it. I don't know.
Well, I could think of one reason. What? But before I explain, I'd like to confirm something for the court. Did you glean all the information for this newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut?
Of course he did. There could be no question of that. After all, when we were all in the laboratory together, all we were told is that it was a terrible toxin.
And there is one more fact to consider. According to the witness, Membami-san's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Miss Brett's drink.
Objection!
Where are you going with this counsel?
Manny Memo-san has made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut.
Objection! Off, hello!
If the defendant had somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it.
Ah!
Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have imbibed the poison whilst the defendant was present. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Minbami-san entered the hut. Yes, very articulately put.
When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison.
At which point, Manny Memo-san overheard some worrying information.
Worrying information? What worrying information?
I'm just here to enjoy Salt and Pepper Man and the voices. Hell yeah! I'm glad. The information which he subsequently included in his newspaper article, namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy, and that it couldn't be readily obtained. Yeah, I think maybe like the poison. Yeah. So more that she wouldn't. He was like, oh, there's only a few people it could have been that got the poison in the first place.
Absolutely. In fact, it's quite an understatement. It's the only possible place it could come from is my lab.
And furthermore, anyone afflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs in death. Poison for Cusco? Cusco's poison?
The extreme constriction of the pupils, yes, it's quite stark when you see it. There are other poisons that show similar symptoms, but not among new substances that are undetectable.
In other words, it would be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison. Blah. Which would reduce the number of suspects to only a handful of people.
Ah! Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of the toxin we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed. And Bami-san being no exception.
Therefore, we can only conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a layperson unaware of its telltale properties. In other words, someone like you, writing Manny Memo.
Yeah!
Yeah! Get him! It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day, and it was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that was a terrible mistake.
Because the poison caused such an unusual symptoms and was so traceable.
As you listened in from the far side of the beach hut's thin walls, you learned these facts. But you'd already given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late. So you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involved stabbing the victim in the back through the reed screen. With a knife you just had, I guess.
All coming together.
But what good could that possibly do?
Isn't it obvious, Counsel? Whoa! Posture check, Mason, thank you. The plan was to kill Ms. Brett before the poison could take effect. Woo! Hydrate, you got it.
Once in the blood, the poison causes the onset of pupil constriction. But he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he?
Exactly. Because without any revealing signs of the new secret poison's use, no one would have ever suspected. Couldn't find head patches down there.
This is extraordinary.
Yes, the effects of the poison meant it would be too easily identified, so the killer had to mask its use. Which he attempted to do by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back.
Order! The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. Does the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward?
Well, there are a number of, yes, I counter completely.
Objection!
Prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that in much the same way as he nurtures the remnants of his top knot, he is clinging to last hope. Stop!
Lost hope!
Again with him. Oh, his hat is gone.
Ah, you pathetic useless fallen samurai.
Fallen? Who are you calling fallen?
I don't need a counter argument.
What are you talking about? It should be blatantly obvious.
I stole the poison, you say. Given it to the victim, you say. Stabbed her, you say. Lots of fine theories. But I don't need a counter argument because I don't need to you don't need to have an argument. Wait.
Where's your evidence?
Where's your dang evidence?
Yes, you make it all sound so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts.
Max, what do you mean? Explain yourself.
I mean, what?
High Star Spice.
He's like, prove it, beach! I mean, what's the professor said earlier in the trial? It's all here. It's memos, every word, every slip of the tongue, I'll note it. That's what the show you news is famous for. It's the power of the printed word.
Overruled. Surely it'd be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin from development for the government.
How are you, Star? Hello.
Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave.
It's in the pan. It's in the fountain pen. I'm telling you.
Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult.
How's that then? Blown the story wide open? Ha! See, writing memo. I'm a reporter from the show you news. Couldn't possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory.
Judge asked him something and he just lets it rip. A little rough today. Have you tried tooting? That helps me.
There can't be any question of it. He must have stolen the poison that day he stole it.
Use it to kill.
And if that's the case...
As we've identified, the poison itself is the definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is the true culprit here. But what's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin? My point is this. There is one way that you, Manny Memo-san, could have stolen the poison that day.
It's in the pan. Give it a shot. Yeah, just fill up your whole house with farts. And then you'll see that maybe your day is better. It might be worse. I'm just gonna eat whatever that was. It's mine, dog lover. It's mine. Just listen, if your whole house is full of farts, fart spice.
I've heard enough verbal conjecture now, thank you. What the cause must be shown as evidence.
What proof? It's the pen.
Take that!
Take it to the bank, the blood bank. Hydrate, thank you.
The proof, Your Excellency, is this fountain pen.
Ah!
A fountain pen? How could that possibly be relevant?
That was iron. I'm gonna be full of iron today.
These magical pens somehow have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago.
I swear by the weasel hair calligraphy brush. I swear by a weasel hair calligraphy brush and nothing else. These newfangled pens are merely a fad.
Well, as a forward-thinking man of words, obviously I love my fountain pen. Suck up a soupkin? What? Of scrumptious ink, and one's work is awash with words in the blink of an eye.
That's right. Fountain pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, into which ink is sucked up through the nib of the pen in order to write with later.
What does all this talking of sucking up ink have? Ah!
And just say it's possible to suck ink into the reservoir. It's also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course.
My word! Can this really be?
Well, Manny Memo-san! When you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir!
Garg! It's me, Reporter Son.
Objection!
More absurdity! That never happened!
True, we've heard that there were procedures in place to prevent thefts like this from the laboratory. But would anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places?
No, I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would not have been conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say.
I remind the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Manny Memo-san. So the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped?
Are you suggesting?
The natural conclusion is that in your haste to act whilst the victim was distracted for a moment, you dropped the pen after you emptied the poison from it into her glass.
Objection!
There could be any number of alternative explanations. For example, the witness could have been using his pen to write down details of his conversation with the victim. And when shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell from his quivering hand.
Objection!
No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink?
What?
As you can see for yourself if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. What newspaper reporter goes to interview someone with nothing in his pen? No, the pen was dropped after the poison was filled its reservoir. Wait, the poison that filled its reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass.
Arr. Witness, what do you have to say in your defense?
I just didn't do that.
This is how our modern justice system works, is it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? What if my pencil snaps? You snapped it. You're snapping it. Wow, Wolverine! I can always claw my way back into the game. I have plenty in reserve. Yeah, whoa. That's a crime. You claim I sucked the poison up into my pen? That's wild speculation, nothing more. If you thought I could bring down a fine, upstanding citizen with a trick like that, think again.
Looks as though he's gonna take one final decisive blow to finish this matter. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. Rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. And therefore, it all depends upon whether or not the defense can prove that what he did with evidence.
No such evidence can possibly exist. Why not? Many memo-san, this is how our modern justice system works. What? In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you would do well to remember. Because we are well past the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you.
Very well then, I call upon the defense to present the aforementioned evidence.
This is it then. This will be the final piece in the puzzle.
It's the poison detecting thing that we got from my daddy dearest. The defense can prove by means of this item that it was the witness's pen that was used to steal the poison. Yeah.
Take that!
Counsel, what is that bottle?
This bottle contains a unique chemical region that can identify the poison in question. Ah!
Yes, that poison is an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It would be impossible to detect traces of it by any other method.
Or, from another perspective, simply with this chemical region, anyone at all could check for traces of poison. A region? What? One drop of the contents of this bottle on the tip of the fountain pen, Mini Memo-san, is all it will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt. No, you can't. I won't.
Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat.
Your Excellency, the defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once. I wonder if he'll have a whole freak out. No, this is normal behavior. This is my fault. The Empire drove me to do this. Trying to hold back its high-headed civilized nation by bowing its head to foreign nation. Oh, he's talking so fast. The name of justice, righteousness, many members. Whoa! Susato with me. Oh, look at her. I'm there. Why? Love it.
Did I do it right? That was a Susato takedown, wasn't it?
Not quite. That was a Ryutaru takedown. Oh, I love it. The instant the first drop of the region touched the nib of the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present. Oh. When I saw it in the lab, the poison from Cusco, the devil got a hold of me and I decided to do it on a whim. Excused myself and emptied all the ink down in the sink into the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully. And then you waited for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, didn't you? Into your fountain pen. Yeah, that's right.
Answer me one thing, Mini Memo-san.
Ow. Hey, thank you.
Why did you steal it? For what purpose?
Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of and expose it in an article. I mean, it was a secret project after all, too juicy for a journo like me to pass up.
Then why did the Englishwoman end up dead?
I went into that hut intending to quiz her on her situation, that's all. As a reporter. A known killer, enjoying full freedom, evading justice by leaving the country, I told her what I thought about it. And she just laughed in my face. So I got murderous on purpose.
Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman purporting to practice journalism? Really, you must learn the difference between reporting and listening at doorways, you ignorant plebeian.
What'd you call me?
This country, with its pretensions to a justice system, to a free press, it's really very depressing. You see our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf! Get out and crawl back into the cave you came from!
Why does he look emo? Because he's guilty. That's what I remembered. About the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time. I decided I'd just kill her. Because she upset me. She hurt my little fifis. Had cat ears on her hat. Cat ears? I think she's like a swan lady.
What a terrible tale.
In my head, I knew I should just get out of there as quickly as possible. But I couldn't. I couldn't let her get away with what she'd done when she clearly had no remorse at all. I suppose that was my journo spirit getting all fired up. Yeah, just think about it, everyone. I'd like to ask you something. Yes? You often talk about justice. But surely as a journalist, you should have used other means to deliver the justice you sought. There's no justice in the press. Sorry? After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what had happened in that courtroom. Finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up, that's what it was. A cover-up? What do you mean?
I would remind you of your position, witness. Be careful of what you say.
Oh, come on, doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national. Consular jurisdiction would never have come into it. And yet that puffed-up Englishwoman was going to sail away into the sunset a free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal had gone on between Britain and Japan. What sort of deal? I'd done my research, dug up all the dirt. It was all ready to be published. But you know what happened? The editor just tore the article up.
Came under pressure from the government, you mean?
If our government's gonna let criminals walk free, if they're gonna crush the free press, then what choice do I have but to see that justice is done myself? To me, Wolverine, I'm Wolverine. Haha, let's not forget, Mini Memo-san, that you committed murder yourself and then tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Giselle Brett. What? The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all. I suppose.
It appears that we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense, Ryutaru Naruhodo.
Oh! Yes, him! Sorry, Your Excellency. Just musing in a manly way here.
Almost unbelievable that this is your first experience of the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, it was very much reminded me of your cousin's exploits.
Oh, Naruhodo Ryunosuke, you mean?
The way he handled the trial 9 months ago, and the way you handled this one, gives me hope that we are genuinely entering a new era of justice in this land.
That's very flattering, Your Excellency.
Hearing the defense you put forward today makes me feel most keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries.
Thank you.
So, Prosecutor Ouchie, do you have any final thoughts?
What is that?
Prosecutor Ouchie?
Hi. Takasuchi Ouchie of the Ouchie clan have been bested by a callow youth not once now, but twice.
Is he gonna cut his little top knot piece off?
If there was any shred of my former self left, it is withered and died here today.
Gosh, your journey to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it?
Silence! Rather than living on in shame.
Oh my god.
I will end it all now with this blade. But that is the true path to Ouchieism!
Ouchie-ism?
One hopes that's the only way in which he'll be modeling himself after the witness.
Sprig of my top knot! The time is right for farewell. Hope is lost forever. Takasuchi.
No! Ah! This is so dramatic for no reason. Why? Why are you back? What are you doing? Everybody, come on. Nobody owes him that much of anything.
Now, in regard to the defendant, Rei Membami-san,
Yes, Your Excellency.
I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you not guilty.
Yay!
We did it, chat. Ooh, baby, baby. No fireworks in Japan. Only in Britain.
Court is adjourned.
Yay! Woo, 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 woo. Ray didn't kill anyone. Baby, baby.
It's over. My heart is still pounding in my chest, though. It's all I can do to just stay standing. Lawyers have such great responsibility, such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruhodo-san? Susato.
Thank you so much. You were
Go dashing in there! Ray and Father! Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you've... Oh no, I think I'm gonna cry. It wasn't easy, but together we made it! I was on the verge of tears at the end, too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh no, I can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Ray. So I would have to say that the congratulations belong to you! Susato, don't be so standoffish. Sorry? We're friends, equals, and the trial's over, so no more of this formal super humility nonsense. It's time to celebrate with swagger, to throw caution to the wind. Caution to the... what? I'm a great defense lawyer, Ryotaro Naruhodo, and I'm taking you out to a milk bar tomorrow. Or something. Right, I see. I'll think about it, Ray. At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man, and it felt so good. Yes, it was satisfying! It really was. Isn't there anybody else we could throw together?
I hope you're not looking at me, Ray.
Oh my goodness, no, of course not. Of course not! Ah, there it is at last, Ray's lovely smile.
You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I'm extremely proud of you, defense attorney Ryotaro Naruhodo.
Thank you, but I couldn't have done it without your help.
He's in Britain. He's just not in Japan right now.
Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryotaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but it's back to Susato Mikotoba now. So I'll never see him again then. What a terrible shape stop.
What? Oh.
What is happening?
Saseki-san and Inspector Hosonaga, I do hope you've been keeping well.
Is that really you?
Yes, I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope, but it's me! Susato Mikotoba!
I don't... So dashing, so divine! No! Doubly dashing, yes, and definitely divine! Just look at you! I had no idea, Mr. Sato-san, Esquires, that you were locum student Naruhodo-san's Esquire's cousin! Astonishingly astounding ace attorney!
Poor Saseki-san, so confused.
Everyone's so confused about how attracted they are to manly Susato, you know? Is he okay? That's a complicated question to answer.
I still remember the first time I ever met him. He was in a prison cell in London. What an extraordinary conundrum it was that the unwitting student from Japan found himself embroiled in. But after Naruhodo-san's skillful defiance, defense at the Old Bailey, Sasaki-san was free to return to Japan. And now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author.
He's on like money, this guy, in Japan, like bills. I'm stunned. That's a truly impressive disguise. Even I had no idea, and I'm a chief inspector at the police bureau. Who came up with Mr. Turtle, no less? I'm not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector. Amazing. You're a woman of many faces, I see.
Just two, really, and this was a once-in-a-lifetime event, I hope. Oh, I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector.
What? Patch? Well, I am a professional, of course.
I do worry about Inspector Hosonaga sometimes, I really do. He's like super duper dying. 9 months ago, when he appeared here at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover, disguised as the head waiter of a restaurant. And then on the steamship to Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor to keep us safe on the journey. And then that guy died. No, it didn't help you, did it? Kazuma-sama.
Oh, it thinks links are... It thinks that's a link, Avi, sorry. From my perspective, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about this. I mean, now the truth has been lost forever. What do you mean? I'm talking about the murder that the Englishwoman committed at the end of last year. Ah, yes, it was an English doctor she killed, as I understand it. Dr. John H. Wilson, yes, the man I invited to Japan personally. The mystery is, why did she kill him? And now that the culprit herself is dead, we'll probably never know the answer.
On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter. With Mr. Herlock Sholmes, the great detective, I mean.
Yes, I remember Mr. Sholmes well, of course. He was on the boat, too. Ah, my arch-nemesis! How lightly you utter his name!
Well, stop it. According to the stories published about him in The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes, a best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John H. Wilson. What? The Dr. Wilson? I just can't believe it's a coincidence. I think that the English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago must have been the friend of partner Mr. Sholmes.
Murloc Holmes.
And if that's really true, then the poor girl won't ever see her beloved father again.
As you know, I traveled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born.
Yes, grandmother told me about it.
Upon returning to Japan, I took up my professorship at the Imperial Yume University. But I also serve another role as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs.
Yes, I was aware of that as well.
In any case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you.
Can you just tell me one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan?
Oh, he isn't sick. Yeah, hold on a minute. She went to Japan because he was supposed to be sick and dying. But he seems completely fine.
It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you'd collapsed with high fever and you were growing weaker by the day.
What? Where did that news come from?
That's what I'd like to know. Because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way, or harm me?
Wait for the moment the character says something dumb. She's just like, shut up!
It's really the only explanation I can think of!
Dear me, you reserve your most cutting glares for your father, Susato. Sorry, my dear, I simply can't. Ah, let me go! Oh. What the hell?
Mama-san!
So, one throw wasn't enough for you?
I got one last thing to say before they take me away, Professor. Me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. In that visiting student's fate. Visiting student? Giselle Brett, you mean? Bloot, I love you, hello. No, not her. The student of law left for Great Britain 8 months ago.
What?
Student of law?
He must mean Kazuma-sama. What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma-sama?
Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never... Ah! Never what? Whoa, it's the judge! Ah!
Well, I didn't expect to find him in here. What were you officers playing at? Terribly sorry, Your Excellency.
The judge did a Susato takedown. Oh, this is interesting.
I was coming to tell you that the rickshaw had arrived, Eugene. It's a good thing I came by.
Yes, thank you for dealing with him, and I'll be there shortly.
Oh, Your Excellency.
Ha 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 ha! Trial's over. I'm not Your Excellency anymore. Merely your father's friend, Shishiru Jigoku. Whoa. And may I say that since I saw you last, you seem to have taken on a more dashing appearance. Susato.
Did you know all along?
Ha 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 ha! The judge sees everything, Susato. I couldn't let you take the risk if Shishiro here hadn't known, and then he'd recognize you. So I had a word in his ear beforehand as an old friend. So, Shishiro, shall we? Yes, having ruled on that case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address.
Before you go, Father.
Sorry, my dear, we shall have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date. Well done again, both of you. You did admirably.
Oh, thank you so very much.
What did you think of my Shishiro sling?
Shishiro sling.
It's been a while since I've sent a man flying like that. Ha 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 ha! That's so funny.
The judge does not see everything, and the judges in this game are dumb as hell.
Whatever could Father be hiding from me? About Giselle Brett and Dr. Wilson. And now it seems, according to the reporter, about Kazuma-sama. I'm gonna have to bring this up with Father sometime. When nobody else is around.
Judicial Assistant Mikotoba-san Esquire can I have a word? Hydrate, you got it.
Oh, yes, of course, Saseki-san. What is it? What do you want?
I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again like this now.
You have a question, Atomica. What is it? Tell me it.
You see, there's something I need to tell you.
Oh?
I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England.
This I have to hear. Please, Saseki-san, tell me at once.
Maybe, Atomica. Maybe.
I will! As you know, my time in England was terrible. Cursed, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness, locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on a ship back here to my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikotoba. He wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report.
My father?
He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyway, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. But it was the very next day that he sent the telegram to you, asking you to return to Japan.
What was it then, my particular part? The particular part my father was interested in?
I don't really know exactly. But do you remember them? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in?
Of course, I can never forget.
Your father seemed to concern himself mainly with the second case.
Second one? You mean, the one Mr. Sholmes forbade any of us to talk about in public? Which is why the only case involving you that any member of the public is aware of is the first.
Yeah, there was only one case.
Well, I don't care. I don't have to listen to what that dastardly detective says. Anyway, the point is, it seems that the case somehow holds the key to all of these curious, unanswered questions. That horrific, hideous, heinous case. The case of the haunted lodgings.
Yeah, we didn't know about that.
That case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan? I thought the whole business was over, but it seems I was wrong. Perhaps that was only the start. Perhaps the story is not yet told.
Yeah, we didn't do a case like that. Why does he clench his teeth like he's holding a fart? Maybe he is. Maybe that's why he's like that.
So, the mystery of that English woman's death is solved, thank goodness. And having stood in the Supreme Court now, I think I can comprehend a little better. How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san. But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter. I met Soseki-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in. Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery. My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again.
Perhaps.
Today, for the first time this year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again. Yours, Susato.
Wow. End. Yay! We solved the tutorial case. I would love to save. What? Hold on, what? Koi fish will always travel in groups of 4. If there is trouble, koi A, B, and C will flee, leaving behind the decoy. B with a subscription! Hello, how are you? You've arrived just in time for the stream to end, B. I'm sorry. We just solved the case number 1. Oh my god, oh my goodness, baby. Okay, so the Blossomy Attorney, Clouded Kokoro, Great Departed Soul, Twisted Karma, final chapter. Okay, there's 5 cases. Okay, I just wanted to resub. It's good to see you. Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah, let's just go back. Turn to the title screen. Ba, 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 ba. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. I am so happy to be back playing Ace Attorney. I just love Ace Attorney so much. We're gonna find somebody to raid, but in the meantime, as always, I have a few things I'd like to share with you. Thing number 1 is my card. It is a one-stop shop to all things Comfy Catboy. If you would like to find me on Twitter or Instagram or anything like that, the card is a good place to start. We also have the link to my Discord. It's a beautiful place full of lovely, lovely people. I would love to see you there if you had a good time here. Third, we have the link to all my YouTube channels. If you like what I do, there is a good chance that you will like something on the internet, the web, the worldwide webby internet YouTube time. It's YouTube time. And then I don't always post this one, but the 4th is the link to my Throne, Amazon wishlist, and P.O. box. I've recently kind of revamped my Throne like a little bit. I like re-upped all the different things involved in it. You know. But it's still lacking in like things on it. I haven't put like a ton of things on it. You know how I do. You know. I'm not seeing anybody in particular, so let's browse the just chatting. How about let's see VTubers that are just chattling. Just chattling. Who we got? Who we got here? Who's the VTuber babies? Who are you? You have, oh, what are they doing? No, this is it's all just chatting, but sometimes it looks like they're playing games. What the heck? Their model is... Let's see if, is this, no, after an advertisement. Yeah, no, for sure. For sure, a whole ad, just the entire ad. Tempted to send the Pilk Sunset. It's in the I see it in the Discord. I'll see it. Let's oh, after this second ad, this Burger King ad. They've only just been going for 18 minutes, so I think that yeah, they drew a Pilk Sunset. It's in the Discord. Okay.
Founder of retail and
okay, yeah. All right, let's that seems good. We will raid. We're all gonna be real cool. We're gonna make a new friend today. If you are a subscriber, you can copy and paste this. And if you're not a subscriber, just give it a think. Give it a once over. I would appreciate it, but of course, as always, there is no pressure. I just love having you all here with me on these adventurous journeys. I love you all to pieces. I will see you next time, next week, for more great Ace Attorney. I love you all. Goodbye. Boo, 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 boo.